Hi, I'm Tanya from Lovely Greens, and today we're going to be reapplying wood chips to my garden paths. And if you're not subscribed to me already, do hit that subscribe button and make sure to click the little bell icon as well so that you know when new videos are out. When a lot of us think about creating a garden, whether it's an allotment or a backyard vegetable garden, we tend to focus on the growing spaces. So the garden beds, the borders, and oftentimes we overlook one thing that I think is really, really important and will save us a lot of time, and that is the garden paths. Now, there are a lot of different solutions out there, and I've tried using pebbles and larger stones. And my favorite type of surface material for garden paths is now wood chips. They're relatively inexpensive, they really suppress the weeds, and I've had wood chip garden paths around my allotment garden for the past 2 years now, and it's almost 2 years exactly since I first laid them down. Now, I didn't put too much new wood chip matter on the paths last year, but this year we've got a brand new load here that the local tree surgeon has dropped off, so I'm going to be taking advantage of those free wood chips and resurfacing my paths. The way that wood chip paths work is that you can apply them either directly onto the ground, like we have in the pathway leading up to our allotment site, or you can put them on some kind of a material. So some people use cardboard initially to suppress weeds and then let it biodegrade into the soil. I've chosen to use a horticultural material, so landscaping fabric, to put down on the surface of the soil and then put my wood chips on. And that is a long-term solution to making sure that perennial weeds that might have been under there won't pop up through. Now, wood chips, they're relatively inexpensive. You can oftentimes get them free if you ask a local tree surgeon. They will go on top of whatever material you put down, suppress the weeds, and actually look really good as well. Before I get to work bringing in wheelbarrow loads of wood chips, I thought we could have a little bit of a walk around and see what the state of my paths are at this moment. So you can see here, it's mainly weed-free. There are some grasses and spurges and various other things growing in here, but it's not too bad, not too shabby. If you brush away the top layer of wood chips, you'll see that the wood chips underneath have essentially composted. And that can actually be dug out and put onto your beds. And I know people who do that, or you can just leave it. Now, weeds will grow in it, as you can see already, but my hope is that by just putting more wood chips on, it will suppress their growth. If it gets quite bad over this coming summer as far as weeds, then I think what I'll do is spend the extra time and effort in digging it all out before I put new wood chips on. But to be honest, I would like to avoid that hard work if possible. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I made these paths originally. You can see a bit of the landscaping fabric just peeking out here at the edge. So all I did was put this down and then put wood chips on top, so over here. And over 2 years, look at how all those wood chips broke down over here. It's essentially just soil now. So you can do it this way, or you can just put it straight on the ground. I've seen that work for other people, or cardboard, but having the landscaping fabric, I think, has really saved me in my situation because the pathways did have a lot of perennial weeds. As for the wood chips themselves, they're a mixture of softwood and hardwood. It's just whatever the local tree surgeon brings to us. And it's all worked really well. I think that other than walnut, like black walnut, most wood chips would be fine in the garden. Walnut can actually kill other plants, so it might be something to avoid. There's also bits of leaves in the wood chips, and I'm not too concerned about that. Plenty of leaves get into my wood chip paths over the course of the summer and they break down. These few aren't going to be that much of a bother. after having that look around at my paths, I'm pretty confident that I won't necessarily need to remove the old wood chips. After all, there's lots of people that just simply put wood chips on the ground and let it go. So now begins the hard part for this afternoon. I'm going to start wheelbarrowing in the wood chips and then just spreading them here on my existing pathways. Guys, the difference is crazy. So, okay, old pathways along there to new wood chips over here. Look at how fresh and new it looks. What a difference, eh? It took me 2 hours to spread the wood chips here in the allotment garden. And I basically just brought in wheelbarrow loads and either dumped it and spread it or spread it around by hand in some of the other areas. And it just looks so fresh and clean now. And it also will help protect against slippage as well. So pathways that are just dirt or earth, especially on a slope like this, they can get very slippery, as I'll show you over here. So this pathway that goes down the site here, it's just exposed soil. And when it gets wet here at the site, this gets very slippery. I've left one little pile of wood chips there because over here I have all of the chamomile seedlings that have self-seeded here in the pathway. And I'm going to dig these guys out and replant them because, to be honest, it's very difficult to get these guys to germinate on their own. I'm amazed that they germinated here. I had to germinate my own chamomile last year indoors just so that it had enough heat. So look at that, hardy German chamomile. The reason that I think that paths are often overlooked and that they are something that we definitely need to plan out is that, of course, we are focusing on the goodies, the jewels of the garden, the flowers and the plants. But wherever we're walking, we're going to first of all leave a little track. So if it's in your lawn, you might not want that. In a vegetable patch, what you might get is weeds, especially perennial weeds or creepers coming in. And in the past, when I've tried to have just grassy pathways here at the allotment, they tended to go into the beds and buttercups, so creeping buttercup would get all over the place. And so having a really low maintenance pathway system through all of the growing space has saved me a lot of time. When I went on holiday for a month a couple of years ago, my wood chip paths basically saved my garden. I got back, and because I had applied those earlier in the year, it meant that I could focus on getting my beds back up to scratch and not worrying about having to weed or sort out any untidiness around the actual growing spaces. So having pathways will save you a lot of time, and that's why I think that they're important. So when you are creating your first garden, or maybe you're thinking about revamping one that you already have, think about putting in paths, and wood chip paths are great. It's been a good day's work here at the allotment garden. I've been up here probably about 3 hours, but it's only taken me 2 hours to put the wood chips all over the pathways. And I think that it looks great. It shows the edges really well, it defines the beds, and it's going to be really functional as well. So helping me not to slip and also to keep those weeds down that encroach from the sides or get blown in from other parts of our allotment here as well. Now, if you are interested in building your own wood chip paths, I have a lot more information on how I started and how I got this started initially over on my website. And I'm going to put a link up on the screen. So head over there if you want to see some more pictures and see what this looked like before the pathways were even in there. And I'll tell you what, when I had it like that, it was so much harder to keep up with. But wood chip paths all the way. Highly recommend them.